Welcome to a very special session with, one of the smartest, if not the smartest real estate trainers in the country, one of the most influential people in the real estate space, a friend, a mentor, our personal coach, and someone that I can honestly say we wouldn't be where we are in our careers if it wasn't for his guidance and his insight. So I'm very excited to have on the legendary Mike Ferry. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for those kind words. You're going to make my head swell if you talk like that. We have to be careful. What the heck?
Well, you deserve it. You've been an instrumental part of our careers, and we're just happy that we get to share your wisdom with everybody else.
Well, thank you for that. So I'll start with sharing a story. And because you were in 2006 at our Superstar Retreat, I did something which caused a big stir. And I had taken a little clip of that movie called The Perfect Storm, if you remember that movie with George Clooney. And of course, it had a tragic ending. And I did a voiceover and I talked about the fact, Sam, that I saw 4 or 5 things taking place over the next 6 months to a year that were going to cause a lot of havoc in real estate. This was mid 2006. A lot of people got very mad at me because they thought I was negative, which I wasn't. Well, in January 2007 in San Diego at the Hyatt, at our production retreat, I showed the film again, and everybody applauded because everything I said actually was taking place. So today, instead of the perfect storm, I'm going to take and give everybody 4 points, which constitutes a perfect market for real estate people. So this is a much more positive message than I had in 2006. So the first perfect match to this market is the inventory shortage. And the reason it's a perfect match is because the sellers are getting their prices plus. With the whole thought process of multiple offers, sellers are getting prices they never dreamed possible. You probably saw the report. 67% of the people in America that could own a home now own a home. It's the highest number of homeowners we've ever experienced. And the equity position is in the trillions and trillions of dollars today.
Wow.
So people ask me all the time, are people going to start losing their homes left and right like 2009? No, because there's too much equity. Okay, they can put it on the market and sell it and cash out. So the inventory shortage is actually a benefit to the market today because every listing we take, bang, it's gone. And sellers get their price. The second, of course, is the abundance of buyers in the market. I mean, Matt Weaver, who you've met at my events, the mortgage broker from down in Florida, funded a loan today at 1.9% on a 30-year fixed loan. Now think about that, 1.9%. Wow. So with the abundance of buyers, low interest rates in the marketplace, and the shortage, man, anybody that has a listing is holding a piece of gold in their hand. So we're going to talk about that. But the third thing that makes this market so strong, and Sam, this is 100% for the owners. The agents don't like this point as much as the owners do. The brokers love the transaction count because it supports the mortgage, the escrow, and the title. And what the agents often forget, and I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, mortgage, escrow, and title is what keeps a real estate company alive because that's the outside sources of income that a brokerage can then run by. And that's a big part of number 3. And then number 4, of course, agents are doing more business today than they ever dreamed they could do. I mean, agents with zero skill are doing deals. So it's an exciting time to be in real estate. But the sad part is still today, there's about 25 to 30% of the agents that still are hiding under the covers, under their bed, in the closet, and afraid to reactivate and come back to work. So it's an interesting time for all of us. Of course, it's an interesting world today that we live in, which we've never experienced this type of problems today that we're having. So with that being said, I'll also say that the challenge that each of your agents face is should they work with buyers or sellers? And the answer is so obvious to you and I. So for 25 years, I used to say, Sam, if you want to get paid fast in real estate, find a buyer, get them pre-qualified, get them pre-approved, put them in your car, sell them a house. Today, if you want to get paid fast, take a listing, period. because not only are you going to get paid quickly with multiple offers, you're going to make more money than you dream because the price is going to probably rise because of the fact there are multiple offers.
Absolutely.
So the question of working buyers or sellers really shouldn't be a question today. Everybody at Big Block, everybody that follows the tune of Mike and Sam should be spending every single day thinking about how they're going to take a listing. The problem is buyers are easier because you don't need a lot of skill. Sellers are harder because you need a lot of skill because you're competing against good people. Okay. So how many agents in San Diego now, approximately, would you guesstimate?
28,000-ish.
28,000. So maybe 10% of them take listings and 90% work with buyers. So the competition is minimal, but that 10%, they're pretty strong. I mean, if they had to go against you and I every day on a listing, we're going to beat them like a bad stepchild. Okay?
Yes, we are.
Because we know what to do to get a listing. So the challenge they face is they keep working with buyers because it's an easier process. But the truth is, it's much more painful, it's much slower, more time consuming, and they get paid less money. So hopefully, as we progress in the next 30 minutes, I can convince some of them to think about working with sellers versus buyers. And with that point, I'm going to ask you to share point number 3.
So in our notes prior to this, and something we talked about on our call yesterday is because of the shortage of inventory, the low interest rates, the market should remain strong till the end of 2020, probably the first and maybe the second quarter of next year. We're going to have 4 million plus sales. And there's, on both sides, that's 8 million commission checks to be had. I guess the thought there is, why do we think the market's going to remain strong? And is this the right time to be pushing in and going hard?
You know what's interesting about that, and Sam, we had a great conversation yesterday in our coaching call. And what's interesting is what I'm trying to help agents see is how big the market is. I mean, the enormous amount of money involved for anybody that chooses to participate. So I'm going to ask the agents to think about trying this idea. Take a business card, and on the back of the card, write a number. How many transactions do they want to close between today and the end of the year? Okay, and let's say they put the number 10, and they're going to go, oh my God, 10, how do I get 10? Well, there's going to be 8 million commission checks distributed.
Yes.
10 is not even, it's a decimal point and a million zeros to get to that number. And they need to see how big the market is for what they do. San Diego is one of the most active real estate markets in the nation. And you guys are the heartbeat of that market. In fact, you're the leader in transactions in that market. So therefore, the opportunity is what I'm trying to get them to see on listing property. And then with the fact that only 10% of the agents compete, what's interesting is all the great agents that you and I have met over the years together, they're all listing agents. I mean, whether it be a Hal Swayze or a Neil Weichel or a Michael Young, or it doesn't matter where you go in the country, Mike Darda down in Florida, Bernie Gallerini in Tennessee, they're all listing agents. And I'll say to him, do you put buyers in your car? And Mike Darda said to me, I wouldn't put my mother in my car if she wanted to buy a home. I'd make her go with a. So we've got to get locked into the fact that there is a tremendous opportunity, very little competition, but the challenge is the skills. So, I'm a fanatic on skills. I think that is what makes you and I good. Your skill at running a business is up here. Okay, my skill business is up here. That's why we get along. But here's the challenge. Working with buyers, skills are not required. All you have to do is try to find a house. So I have this incredible 9-year-old grandson, Sean. And I don't think you've met Sean yet, but bright red hair, covered in freckles. He looks like Huckleberry Finn. So I had dinner with Sean a couple of nights ago. And I said to him, Sean, do you want to make some money this summer? And of course, eyes this big. What, Grandpa, what? I said, we're going to buy you a little mask. We're going to paint a smile face on it. We're going to get you a pair of gloves, a pair of booties, and a little hand sanitizer. and we're going to ask an agent that's going to hold an open house to let you hold it for them. He said, what do I do? I said, nothing. Just stand there and smile at them and then say to them, take a look around. If you like it, do you want to buy it? And he said, will somebody buy it? I said, just like that. That's the skills required to sell homes in today's market. However, the skills to list property are multiple, and that's where agents get in trouble. You know, they take that path of least resistance. And of course, you know me, Sam, I've done 7,000 seminars in my career. I've never done a seminar without talking about prospecting.
Never.
And usually when I mention the word prospecting, people's minds close on the spot. So I had a conversation on Sunday. An agent from Atlanta called me. And he's a pretty good guy. He does 30, 35 transactions a year. That's a very productive agent. Almost all buyer controlled sales. He works 75 hours a week.
I bet.
And probably more. He said, I never get a vacation. I said, well, maybe you should try doing what we teach. You've been in coaching for 5 years, for God's sakes. Why are you fighting it? And he finally admitted, I don't like to prospect. I said, well, that's called being human being. Nobody likes to prospect. Now, I happen to like prospecting. I mean, I love it. That's how you build something. So I asked him a question. I said, okay, you don't prospect. He goes, nope. Do you buy leads off the internet? He said, nope. Do you do a lot of marketing and branding? He said, nope. I said, well, how the hell do you find any prospects? He said, I hold open house Friday, Saturday, and Sunday every week.
Wow.
I mean, take me out and shoot me, would you? I mean, that is the most painful thing I've ever heard my entire life. The skill of prospecting, the skill of lead follow-up, the skill of pre-qualifying, the skill of making a presentation, and the skill of handling objections. Sam, Sabrina and I are considering selling our property here in Newport Beach. You know, we live in Vegas full-time and we have a part-time residence here. So yesterday I had 2 agents come over and make a listing presentation. And it's always fun when that happens because the first agent comes to the door, I open the door and he goes, oh my God, you're Mike Ferry. I said, I have been all my life, right? And the guy was good. He made a good presentation. He was very sharp. You know, he said, I don't use all of your techniques. I said, that's okay. You know, do your best. When we finished, listen to what he said to me. Well, if you decide you want to list your home, go ahead and call me and I'll come back.
Wow.
The second guy came in with his wife. They made a very strong presentation. This morning by 9 o'clock, I had 3 texts. Should I come by and pick up the contract? Have you talked to your wife who's in Canada? Have you got the contracts on? Guess what I'm going with?
Number 2.
The lead follow-up guy. See,
absolutely.
That's a skill. And you know, I think it's sad that we cannot enforce skills because they're independent contractors. I know you and I would like to, but unless they learn the skills, they don't have the confidence to do the job. So let's take a look at something. I just dictated before I got on the call with you, Sam, today, the daily email I send my coaching clients. In the daily email, all I talked about was the word quality. The word quality. Mike Ferry's MO for years has been numbers, 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 quantity, quantity, quantity. Talk to as many people as you can, you're going to make a deal. Well, since this pandemic started and the natural fear that people have, I mean, let's be honest. You know, you've got children. The last thing you want to see is your children suffering. I mean, even from a cold or the flu, but this virus, for goodness sakes, you know, you're an adult, you and your wife are taking care of yourselves. I'm doing the same. Well, there's a lot of natural fear that people have. You overcome fear by offering quality to people. So this is a quote, and you're going to get a kick out of this. Sam, how old are you now?
37.
37. Okay, I got this quote from Earl Nightingale in 1968.
Okay.
Before
That's
you
a
were
long
born.
time ago.
Yeah, that's a long time. Most people don't know that Earl Nightingale, Sam, was a master sales guy. Retired at age 35, independently wealthy from selling life insurance for New York Life, and retired and went into the motivational industry. He
Wow.
gave me this, he gave me this quote, and I've kept it for all these years. The quality of your prospecting contacts determines the quality of your leads, which determines the quality of your appointments, which determines the quality of the listings you take. So what I'm going to ask everybody to think about is this. There is not a reason logically why every agent at Big Block can't take 3 to 4 listings a month. There's not a logical reason. No,
I agree.
maybe if they were part-time for some reason that could happen, they would take less. But really 3 or 4 listings a month, you got 21, 22 working days in a month. So I'm going to ask them to make 20 quality contacts per day, 5 days a week. Quality meaning saying something meaningful, asking something of value and importance to the seller. Instead of, hey, you want to sell your home? I want to share some information that's going on in the neighborhood at this time. Because remember, people don't know what's going on because the good news is never reported. So
True.
Most people are familiar with the activity level. They're not familiar with the fact that interest rates are so low. They're not interested. They don't know about the fact that days on market is shrinking. If we can just get all your agents to think about the word quality, then we can really make some progress throughout the course of this year. And with that being said, I've written a little plan. I'm going to ask Sam to share it with you on how to get an agent to take 4 listings per month.
All right, so what we wrote down is to take 4 listings per month. We set a 30-day plan for each month of the remaining year. The idea is to keep the plan simple and include the following. Letter A, how many hours per day are you actually going to prospect? Letter B, the number of contacts you're committed to making during that time. Letter C, leads generated, like what's the goal for generating leads? D, how many appointments are you going to set? And E, how many listings will be taken? Essentially, if you don't know the exact details of where you want to go, it's really hard to get there. And if we focus on, these A through E points, we're on the right track.
So 1970, I'm sitting having breakfast with Pat McVeigh, my broker. And I don't know, Sam, if you ever had a chance. Did you ever get to meet Pat McVeigh?
No, I never did.
He was a wonderful man. He passed away about 18 months ago. Just a great guy. He was a mentor and a close friend of mine all my life. We're sitting at breakfast and Pat hands me a 3x5 card. And I said, okay, Pat, he always had a lesson in everything. He said, print your name at the top of the card. So I did. Then he said, write A, B, C, D, E. And I said, okay. And then he asked me those 5 questions that you just brought up. He said, I want you to answer honestly. How many hours will you prospect every day that you work for the next month? I said, I prospect 4 hours a day. I love to prospect. I'm going to do 4 hours a day. How many contacts do you make? I said, 50. I'll make 50 contacts a day. Now, in those days, everything was done knocking on doors because rotary phones, you couldn't call 50 people in one day because the phones were so slow. How many leads do you generate? I said, I can generate minimum of 1 really good lead per day. How many appointments? 1 a day. How many listings can you take in the next month? I said, 15. But now here's where it became fun. He then said to me, I want you to sign your name at the bottom of this card. I said, I printed my name up here. He said, no, that was the beginning of the contract. Now you're going to sign the contract for what you're going to do. Now I see the smile on your face. I had the same smile. He said, you just made a contract with Mike Ferry to do this job. But then he did something, Sam, which I'll never forget. He gave me 5 more blank 3x5 cards and said, duplicate it 5 more times. Why, Patrick? He said, I want you to tape one on the mirror. When you're cleaning up in the morning, brushing your teeth, shaving, look at the goals that you have for the month. Give one to your wife. I said, why? Oh, that's the response. Have her hold it up in the morning when you get in the car and say, honey, there's your job, go do it. Talk about accountability. Then he said, give one to the manager of the office, which I did. His name was George. Put one in your pocket, your purse, put one on your desk. I went 19 straight months and achieved those goals every single month. I averaged 15 and a half listings a month.
That's great.
Because that was the beginning of what you and I would do for a business plan today.
You know, quick story on this. I didn't even know that story, but it's funny because Oliver and I have a very similar story. We were in your coaching for, a little bit of time. We were lying to ourselves, lying to our coach, just getting frustrated. And finally, we made a contract to each other covering these points. And the ultimate goal is we were not going to stop every single day until we set at least one appointment. Like, no matter what, we're going to go until we set an appointment. And naturally, some days it didn't happen, but that was a goal and we kept going until we could. And that decision, that contract to each other was one of the biggest pivot points in our career, because it was a matter of fact that we're going to keep going until we get the appointment, because everything else doesn't matter. If I don't have an appointment, if I don't have a contract, if I don't have a deal, I'm out of work. And that was a big turning point for us.
Good for you guys. And what's nice about what you and I are saying for all the agents watching today is the simplicity of it. It's not complicated. Okay. What is your commitment to the quality of your life and your business with yourself and your family? And that quality of life comes from the commissions you earn on the listings you take. So quite honestly, about 10 years ago, I started every seminar with mindset, skills, activities, action. And every seminar, mindset, skills, activities, action. And today, the mindset is more important than ever, because, the world is a little out of kilter. With this pandemic running around the world and, all the social problems we're dealing with today, what's going on up here controls what comes out of here.
Absolutely.
And if we can't control this mindset, we have a problem. We all know that the skills are important. I mean, the former San Diego Chargers, now the Los Angeles Chargers, are practicing every day. These are paid professionals that practice their skills, okay? There's a golf tournament last week in San Francisco. Those guys practice 4 or 5 hours a day, practicing their skills. So I think it was Friday afternoon, I had a conversation with one of my competitors who is also a friend. And we were talking about activities, because, in real estate, there's 2 kinds of activities: those that bring business today and those that bring business in the future. And he teaches bring the activities that bring business to the future. I talk about the ones for today. And then I said to him, why do you talk about activities that bring business in the future? He said, well, I'm trying to reduce the amount of rejection that my clients get. I said, I'm trying to increase the amount of rejection my clients get. He said, why? I said, because it gets you to a transaction faster. There's a direct correlation between activities, rejection, and contracts. And if you can't figure that little scenario out, you'll never take action, And the truth is, most agents are so hung up on activities, they can't take action at all. And it's sad to watch, please.
I was just going to say something I share with the agents all the time. And if we just got real with this fact, I think everything becomes easier. A lot of us we think that we make the money when we get the check. I believe that's just the materialization of making money when you got rejected and embarrassed for however many hours, however many contacts, however many days. It's the rejection and the embarrassment, the action that makes the money. The closing at the end is just a materialization of all the coins you stacked up prior to the deal being done.
Right. And when you understand, everybody, what Sam just said, then you'll understand that action you take, it isn't going to pay today or tomorrow. But if you're taking the action every day, you're going to be consistently paid in the future. But the hardest part of taking action is point number 9 in my list of 14 points. And Sam, I want to tell everybody that we'll send anybody and everybody a copy of all 14 points in my notes if they want a copy. They'll just have to give me their email address and we'll send them out to them right away. So
cool.
Your agents, you can get them through you, of course, if you want to distribute it. But I know you
we can send it out.
Yeah, you have some friends watching today through Facebook Live. But point number 9, I'm going to ask Sam to share. And the reason for it, Sam, is when I share it, they get mad at me. They can't get mad at you. You're the boss.
All right, let's do it. So number 9, listing property requires a skilled agent that uses a canned and scripted presentation. The reality, as Mike and I know, is a non-productive agent is oftentimes fighting the idea of being told what to say and how to say it and what to do, and most importantly, learning a canned presentation. Listing presentation requires showing the seller an exact process that you use, and this can only be done when you know what to say and what to do. And we have to remember, if I know what to say, I can do what I'm supposed to do. And in reverse, if you don't know what to say, it becomes very hard to do what you're supposed to do.
You know, the best example you and I can give everybody is when you see a for sale by owner sign, why don't you stop? I mean, your car has brakes, press the brake, open the door, walk up to the house. But we can't because we don't know what to say. So the challenge in real estate is they're independent contractors. And if they weren't, we could say, learn this script. So Sam, we've been together in seminars probably 50, 60 times over the years or more.
At least.
Yes.
Yep.
Have you ever seen me do a seminar without having my notes in my hand?
Not once.
And I never will. And people make fun of me all the time. They go, I can't believe it that you have notes in your hands. I said, I'm the highest paid reader that you've ever met. Okay. I just read the notes because I want to make sure I deliver the best information to an audience or to the seller. So I would walk in with my listing script, Sam, and I would simply say to the seller, I've written down some important points and questions. Can I go through them with you now? They would say, fine. I would follow the script. 92% of the time when I made a presentation, I got a contract signed. Now that's pretty hard, but it's only because you know what to say. See, you want a doctor that has the skills of knowing what to do. You want an attorney that has the skills of knowing what to say. Everybody pays a lot of money for a professional who has that skill of knowing how to respond and what to say. The question is, you know, when we get to the house for the listing, if we don't know what to say, we fumble, we mumble, we stumble. Any chance is shot before we even go into the presentation. So it goes back to that old expression about first impressions. And of course, today, and I say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, with social media being really the life of many people, especially during the pandemic. Because during this pandemic, people had nobody to talk to. So they were on social media more than ever. Well, social media is probably the most judgmental form of communication we've ever seen in our lives. Everybody is judging everybody. So today, the seller judges you what you say. They judge you how you say it. They judge how you respond. They judge how you look. They judge how strong you are in your attempt to make the presentation. They judge if you're an authority. If you're not doing these things at a high level, they're going to pick somebody else. And here's the example, Sam, that I give all the time. The seller says, Sam, can you get my home sold? Now you would smile and say, not until you sign the contract. Please sign the contract. That's our response. Average agent, I'll try, I'll work hard. You're my only listing. I'll do whatever I can. Watch, you're finished before you start. So we got to understand this importance of the value of having a scripted process that you follow. Earl Nightingale used to say all the time, my knowledge equals my confidence. My ignorance brings the fear. And I've taught that message for 45 years, that knowledge equals confidence, ignorance equals fear. Sellers do not want an agent who is not confident and knowledgeable. So I work under this theory. They want a knowledgeable, confident, enthusiastic, energetic agent. And when they get that, good things always happen to them. So I've committed, I want everybody to know that I've committed to Sam that we would be done in 30 minutes today, because I know Sam has a very important business to run. But I also am committed to getting anybody that wants a copy of the notes, a copy of the notes. So let me give them, Sam, my email address, if I may.
Yes,
so,
of course.
Or if they would write down, it's very complicated, mike.ferry@mikeferry.com. Can't be any simpler than that. Somebody said to me a couple of weeks ago, it's an egotistical email address. I said, hey, I'm old. I can remember my name. That's why I use it. You know,
Well, I have time if you want to keep going, Mike, but if you want to wrap it up, we can wrap it up if you prefer.
well, what I would like to do is this. I'd like to invite all of the people, whether they be the Big Block members or any of your guests, and just invite them to the Superstar Retreat next month. It's going to be a virtual retreat. And it's a little different, Sam, because you've been at a lot of our retreats and you've seen 4,000 to 5,000 people fight to get in the front.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a deal they can't refuse. If they buy a ticket, okay, they buy it through Sam at Big Block. First of all, they get a substantial discount, which is important for most people. They get a free front row seat. How's that for a good deal?
You don't have to wait in line. This will be my first Superstar Retreat where I'm, showing up not a little beat up behind some drinks and some gambling. So I'm going to be fresh and ready to go.
Well, it's interesting because, there's no flights from San Diego to Las Vegas for the retreat, no staying at the Venetian Palazzo, no putting some money in the machines as you walk to the meeting, no having to buy nice meals. I mean, it's the best thing we've ever offered. The challenge and I want to stress this, the challenge is keeping them engaged. So we've changed the retreat from 4 days to 3. We've changed the retreat from 9 to 4 to 9 to 1, a 10-minute break every hour, which I'll take, a tremendous amount of interaction we're going to have in this retreat to keep them engaged. And then we offer them, Sam, what we call a 7-day pass. Anybody that buys a ticket to the retreat for the 7 days when the retreat ends, they can watch it again as often as they want.
Nice.
So, and plus, we're going to give everybody a copy of my notes on the 3rd day. We're going to send everybody a copy of the notes. I mean, it's going to be a fun adventure. But I think the message that you and I have to keep pounding, whether they attend our events or not, is the fact that they've got to develop the mentality that listings are the name of the game. I mean, I guess the best way to say it is this. I got an email from a very successful agent in DC yesterday. And she said, I'm a little concerned. I walked into Nordstrom's and they had limited inventory. And I'm concerned if they're going to stay in business or not. Well, Nordstrom's is pretty big. I think they're going to stay in business. But see, I always say to real estate people, if they don't have inventory, are they really in business? Because a business requires inventory. A bank has to have money to lend. Okay. A bakery has to have food to serve. If a real estate company doesn't have listings, basically they're running out of business. So our job, yours and mine, is to keep your agents in business for as long as they want to stay in business. It's a challenge. But
I agree.
Something that we do.
The skills to get listings are important in any market, but now more than ever, I think the skills are literally the biggest unfair and most important advantage that you need. And there's nowhere else better to get it than attending the Superstar Retreat. What are the dates of that?
September 22, 23, 24.
Awesome.
About 5 weeks from now. And interestingly enough, the room at the Venetian Palazzo, the retreat would have been 10 days ago if it was live. And the room held 4,500. And the hotel was very excited. They said, and we're going to allow you to have 200 people in the room. I went, well, you won't see me there with 200 people. Socially distanced from acres, okay?
Wow.
So it's a different world we're operating in. And my hope is, because every January we do a big production retreat in San Diego, right around the corner from your headquarters. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that live in January again. I mean, we're hoping that the vaccine and all the good things that people are doing come through. I have this crazy notion, and I'm not a political guy, at least publicly, but I have this crazy notion that the day after the election, the pandemic is going to end. So I'm hoping that is the case. So
you and me both. So look, for those of us that want to get tickets, if you're watching this in Facebook right now, go ahead and comment, I want one, or get me a ticket, and someone on the team will connect you and get you connected with Mike's team and help you get registered. If I send this to you in an email, I'm going to either put a link or someone's contact over at the office that Mike's at, so you can get registered. I'll tell you, this is an event that I never miss. In fact, if you look at my desk right now, I have Superstar Retreat book, Superstar Retreat book. They're everywhere. I mean, this is the stuff that I'm always studying and sharing with you guys. It's been instrumental for my business, and I know it'll be instrumental for yours. So don't miss the opportunity. We already got you discounted tickets. Just make sure you reach out and get signed up. Anything else, Mike, before we break?
Well, first of all, thanks for your long-term support. Congratulations on the success that you folks have enjoyed and are continuing to have. I hope the company continues at the pace that I know you and I are talking about all the time. And I hope that everybody understands the message that we're trying to give across. And with that, Sam, I'm going to give you a virtual high five because I can't give you one live right now, but I hope to do that soon. And thanks for today. Look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. Thank you all for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, Mike.
Thank you. See you soon.